Everyone keeps telling you the same thing. The Florida housing market is just taking a breather, a small dip, a pause before the next big run higher. But that story, it misses what's really going on underneath. Because what you're watching across Florida right now is not a normal correction. It's a structural shift, and most people won't see it until it's already too late. Think about the last 3 years for a second. This was the hottest housing market in America. Money poured in from everywhere. New York, California, Illinois. People chasing sunshine, lower taxes, and the freedom to work from anywhere. Prices exploded. Bidding wars became normal, and almost everyone assumed it would never end. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The boom didn't fix Florida's problems. It buried them. And now, the bill is coming due. Insurance costs are soaring. Property taxes keep climbing. HOA fees rise month after month. New inventory is flooding the market all at once. And that great migration wave is finally cooling off. So today we're counting down 10 Florida cities flashing the clearest warning signs, ranked from concerning to genuinely shocking. And stick around, because the city at number 1 is the one almost nobody saw coming. But before the list, you need to understand one thing. This downturn is different because it isn't really about home prices. It's about the total cost of owning a home. Insurance premiums in some areas have doubled. Some have tripled. Property taxes followed values right up the ladder. And the buyers who once paid any price, they're gone. The investors who snapped up everything are quietly heading for the exit. Add it all up, and the math that worked in 2021 simply doesn't work anymore. Keep that in mind, because every city on this list tells the same story from a different angle. Let's start at number 10, Palm Coast. During the pandemic, this place was a darling, affordable, quiet, close to the coast. Prices ran hard. But Palm Coast leaned heavily on buyers from somewhere else. And when that flow thinned out, the cracks showed up fast. Listings are piling up. Demand has softened. A market built on outsiders gets fragile the moment those outsiders stop showing up. That's the early warning. And it's only getting louder. That brings us to number 9, Cape Coral. You want a textbook example of oversupply? Look right here. Builders went all in during the boom, new homes going up at a furious pace. And now, too many of them are hitting the market at the same time. That kind of supply pressures prices in every direction. Throw in rising insurance costs, add real flood risk, and you can see why investors are getting nervous. When sellers have to compete with brand new construction, somebody has to cut. Number 8, Port St. Lucie. This one's about affordability finally breaking. The population exploded. Prices climbed even faster. But local incomes, they never kept up. And at some point, the people who actually live and work in a city can't afford to buy in it. That's when demand quietly runs out of fuel. That's exactly what we're watching here. And it rarely turns around overnight. At number 7, we've got Jacksonville, one of the biggest markets in the whole state. You'd think size means safety. It doesn't. Inventory is rising. Financing costs are still high. And those elevated rates have stripped buyers of real purchasing power. A big market just means more homes caught in the same squeeze. Scale isn't immunity. Sometimes it's just a bigger version of the same problem. That leads us to number 6, Deltona. This market boomed because it sits close to Orlando, a magnet for commuters chasing cheaper homes. But commuter markets, they're sensitive to the economy, to interest rates. When things tighten, these buyers pull back first. Activity is already cooling. And there could be more downside ahead as that affordability story fades. Number 5, Northport. Here's where the retirement dream meets reality. Retirees flooded in, drawn by the warmth, drawn by the value. But insurance has become brutally expensive. Supply keeps growing, and buyers are far more selective than they were 2 years ago. The mood has shifted, and when the people driving a market start hesitating, that unstoppable momentum can vanish in a hurry. That brings us to number 4, Punta Gorda. This is a smaller, less liquid market, and that matters more than people think. Fewer buyers, fewer sales, which means prices swing harder in both directions. Add intense insurance pressure on top of that, and a modest slowdown gets amplified into something much sharper. Thin markets feel the pain first, and they feel it deepest. Now we reach number 3, Fort Myers, one of the great symbols of the Florida boom. But the hangover here is real. Recovery after the storms has been complicated and expensive. Rebuilding costs are high. Inventory keeps climbing. and the market is genuinely struggling to find its footing. When a former boomtown can't find a clear floor, that uncertainty alone keeps cautious buyers on the sidelines. Number 2, Naples. And this one breaks a very comfortable myth, the myth that luxury protects you. The high end here is under real pressure. Wealthy buyers have turned cautious. Homes are sitting longer. Asking prices are quietly being cut. For years, people believed the premium segment was immune. Naples is proving something different. When the math stops working, even luxury corrects. And that brings us to number 1, the most surprising risk on this entire list, Miami, the ultimate symbol of the Florida boom, the city everyone assumed was untouchable, but prices here have drifted far above what local incomes can support. The condo market is under serious strain. HOA and insurance costs are climbing fast. After new safety rules reshape the whole math of ownership, and international investors, along the backbone of this market. They're getting cautious too. If even an iconic global city like Miami can wobble, then this is bigger than any single market. So step back for a second, because these 10 cities all share the same DNA. Affordability has eroded everywhere. The cost of actually owning a home has exploded, driven by insurance, by taxes, by fees that have nothing to do with the listing price. Supply is growing, demand is no longer aggressive, and those extraordinary years, 2020 through 2022, they're gone. That's the real thread running through all of this. Not a crash in value, a collapse in the affordability of ownership itself. So what should you actually watch for? Pay attention to local inventory. Rising supply is the first signal. Track price reductions, not just asking prices. Look closely at insurance costs. Watch the trend in HOA fees and property taxes, because those quietly destroy affordability. Keep an eye on migration flows. They tell you where demand is heading, and always compare home prices to local incomes. That ratio tells you whether you're looking at a temporary dip or a real structural change. Here's the bottom line. Florida isn't crashing everywhere, but the rules have changed. And pretending otherwise? That's how people get hurt. The real issue was never just the value of these homes. It's whether the full cost of owning them is sustainable. For the patient, disciplined buyer, that shift actually creates opportunity, because panic always leaves bargains behind. Just remember this, the strongest markets aren't the ones that rise forever. They're the ones that can carry their own weight over the long run. Florida is learning that lesson right now. The only question is, are you paying attention before everyone else does?